How to complete appeal form SEND35a, a step-by-step guide. In this video, we will talk about the appeal form SEND35a, what it is for, and how to complete it. Appeal form SEND35a tells the First Tier Tribunal that you wish to make an appeal about refusal to assess. The forms can be found on the Tribunal's website. An online search for SEND Tribunal will guide you to the relevant gov.uk website. The link will also be in the video description. The first page of the form gives important information about the SEND35a form. It tells you about who can make an appeal and explains some of the words that you will find written in the form. It is important to fill in the form correctly. If you are filling in the form by hand, you must complete it in block capitals. If you are filling the form in online, you can just type normally. Section 1 of the form asks you who the appeal is about. Tick the first box if the appeal is about a child under 16, and the second box if the appeal is about a young person aged between 16 and 25. Next, fill in their name, gender, and date of birth. Section 2 of the form asks your reasons for disagreeing with the local authority's decision not to assess. The first box is for you to explain what difficulties the child or young person has with learning. Make sure to include any special educational needs which have been identified by the education setting and formal diagnoses from medical professionals and any difficulties that you have noticed at home. The second box is where you can tell the tribunal if your child has any special educational needs which you don't feel have been fully identified. If the child or young person is waiting for a specialist assessment, you can share that information here and what difficulties have led to it. The third box is for you to tell the tribunal why you feel the child or young person may need an EHC plan. In this section, you should write about what support the child or young person has in place already and whether the child or young person is still struggling despite this. Explain why you feel the child or young person needs extra help that the education setting cannot provide. It is helpful to include whether the child or young person has times where they are taught outside of the main classroom, if they are on a part-time timetable, or times that they have been excluded. If you run out of room when filling in a box, please write "See attached sheet" and continue on a separate document. Remember to clearly mark on the attached sheet which section and box you are referring to. Here are a few tips for completing section 2. Separate your points into paragraphs or bullet points. Refer to any evidence that backs up your points. Include the reasons that the local authority gave in their letter and state why you disagree. Don't get bogged down in history. And if using attached sheets, include the child or young person's name and date of birth on them. Section 3 is about making the appeal. For this section, you will need the decision letter that you received from the local authority refusing to carry out a needs assessment. In the first box, you will need to write the name of the local authority you are appealing against. In this case, it will be Milton Keynes Council. In the second box, you need to write the date of the decision letter that you received from the local authority. The second part of this section only applies if your appeal is late or you do not have a mediation certificate. Tick the option that applies to you and explain the reason in the box below. If you do not give an explanation, the papers will be returned to you without being registered or seen by a judge. If your appeal is not late and you do have a mediation certificate, you can skip this part. Section 4 starts with a reminder that all refusal to assess appeals will automatically be assessed on paper. A paper hearing means that you do not have to attend the tribunal for a face-to-face hearing, and the judge will make a decision on the evidence sent in on this form. If you agree to this, please tick the box. The next part of the form applies to anyone who has other appeals going on with the SEND tribunal at the same time. These can be about special educational needs or disability discrimination. These appeals could be for the same child or young person or a sibling. If you have another ongoing appeal, put the details in the appropriate section and tick the box to say whether you would like these appeals to be heard at the same time. If you do not have any other appeals open, make sure that you tick the no boxes. Section 5 is about who is making the appeal. Tick the box stating who is making the appeal and fill in their details below. If more than one person is making the appeal, fill in the second person's details. It is important to note that the tribunal will contact and send information to the first person listed here. It is important to add an email address, as the tribunal usually sends information by email. Section 6 is about any other people involved in the appeal who have not been listed in Section 6. This could be any other person or organisation who shares parental responsibility for the child, or someone appointed as deputy by the Court of Protection for a young person. Their name and details should be put into the first box. If you believe that this person should not receive details of the appeal, you can explain why in the next box. The third box is where you must put details of any court or tribunal order that has been made about the child or young person, including family court. If none of these apply to you, then you can leave these boxes blank. An advocate is someone who knows you and understands what you think about the appeal and can speak on your behalf. This could be a parent or carer, a friend, or a paid advocate. If you are a young person and have an advocate helping you, you must put their details on this section of the form. A representative is someone who can give advice on the appeal, prepare paperwork for you, and may represent you at a face-to-face tribunal hearing. A representative could be someone from a charity, a paid representative, or a solicitor or barrister. Most appeals are made without a representative, but if you do have one, you must put their details in this section of the form. The tribunal can only send details to one person named in the appeal form, so use these boxes to indicate who you want this to be. Section 7, question 1, asks about any adjustments that you need to be able to take part in a hearing. This can be things such as extra processing time, a hearing loop, or disabled access. Question 2 asks whether you need a signer or interpreter. If you do, the tribunal service will arrange for a signer or interpreter to be at the hearing for you. Section 8 is a handy checklist for you to fill in to make sure that your appeal documents are complete. Do not send your paperwork off until you have checked that all of the right information is there and ready to be sent. Once you have checked all of your documents are ready to send, you can sign and date the appeal form in Section 9. If only one parent or young person is making the appeal, just sign the first box. If you have a representative, they also need to sign the form and tick here to say who they are representing. Section 10 tells you how to send your appeal form to the tribunal service. If you are emailing the form, you must write New Appeal in the subject line so that the tribunal service deal with it quickly. If you are sending the form through the post, we recommend sending it recorded delivery. Whether you are emailing or posting the appeal forms, you must keep a copy. This last section of the appeal form is a table for you to list any evidence that you are sending in to support your appeal. The tribunal have given a list of documents that would be helpful to include. Copies of all the information you send will be sent to the tribunal and the local authority. If you are sending your appeal by post, you should only send photocopies and not your original documents. You should try to send all of your evidence in with this form, but if you are waiting on a report or other evidence, you will have the opportunity to send this later. Once your appeal has been received by the tribunal service, they will send you a letter stating the deadline for you to send in any extra evidence. Once all of these sections are complete, you can send your appeal to the tribunal service. We hope you have found this video useful. For any further advice and queries, contact us via email or telephone.